Villains are the reason our hero needs to save the day. They conflict with the hero on every level, making them doubt themselves and feel fear. And what turns a villain simply from the bad guy with the bad plan to the conflicted enemy you always want to root for? This is Writing Quest. Hello everyone, welcome to Writing Quest. My name is Brendan Pugh, and in today's episode we are going to talk about 5 ways that you can make your villain great. Here we go. Number 1, make your villain vengeful. What do I mean by make your villain vengeful? Basically, they have to have their own internal conflict. As we talked about with the main characters, we've talked about this a lot, they have to have an internal conflict because that's the reason you care. Well, you can't just have a bad guy who's a bad guy for no reason. You have to have a reason for them to be bad, a reason for them to want to do the bad thing. A great way to do this is to make them for some reason being vengeful towards the main character. They have to have an actual reason that they went down the dark path and the reason why they just despise the main character. That's probably the most basic and easy of all of the ways to conflict your villain. It's really a great way to kind of connect the main character and the villain and also really make them, their choices really matter to each other. And they, some things that the main character does and things that the villain do actually matter to each other. It makes the main character, if the villain becomes the villain because of something the main character did, it actually makes the main character care about the villain a little bit more, which really is a nice way to contrast I know you're the bad guy, I know I have to fight against you, but I also care for you, which makes this harder to deal with. Number 2, who is the real villain? Subverting expectations is a great way to make your villain really interesting. It makes your kind of fake villain really interesting while also, having the mystery of who is the real villain. It's a really cool way to build a series. So if you're writing a series, having, the thing that you think is the bad guy, the thing that you think is the villain, and really playing that up for the reader. And then ultimately to be subverted and realize, oh, this is not the bad guy. This is not the story we thought it was. And even better, if you can hide that villain in plain sight, you just make it even more interesting and even more gripping for the reader to read. Number 3, make the villain someone that your character used to know and or love. Turning a friend into the bad guy, turning a parent into the bad guy. Someone that they used to care about becomes the villain. That's a really great way to just conflict your main character, really tear them up into just kind of, I don't know how to handle this because this is my brother, this is my friend, this is whoever it is that matters to your main character, and really make it something that's super emotional for them. So it might actually tie them up in a way that they can't even defeat the villain because they just cannot bring themselves to fight this person. And so when they finally have to, it becomes very emotional, it becomes very raw and very real in a lot of ways. Number 4, make your villain think they are the hero. Every good villain thinks they are the hero. There's very few villains who actually think they are the villain, or very few good ones. You have a few different examples that break that rule, such as the Joker, who's just a great villain for whatever reason, the chaoticness of him. There's a lot of people who have talked about the Joker and why he's such a great villain to Batman. But for the most part, making your villain really feel like the mission that they're on is the right thing to do. That's a great way to get your readers to care about the villain, even though they don't want to care about them. They do. I think it's what makes Thanos and the MCU such a great, great villain, and the way that they pulled that off, because he really believes in what he's doing. He really believes in how he's going about it. And he can almost convince you that it makes sense. I said almost, but he can almost convince you that it makes sense, which is what makes him so compelling, because it's hard to actually disagree. It's hard to refute what he's saying. You know it's wrong. You know that he's the villain, but for some reason, because he believes it so much, he draws you in that way, and it makes it hard to fight against him. Number 5, can the villain become a good guy? Can you have a redemption story? Can the villain go from the dark side to the light side? Can Darth Vader become good again? It's such an age-old question, and it's not something you have to do, but it's definitely something you can do. One of the ways you can use it too is put that question with the hero. Can I redeem them? Can I fix them? Can I save them? It's a really compelling way to, even if in the end they can't save them and they can't be redeemed, it still gives your hero a really cool journey to go on and a really cool way to interact with the villain, and might make them make some unexpected choices, so that maybe there's times when they should have been caught and they weren't caught, but it makes sense and it's not just a plot point because of how you know that the character feels about the villain. So those are my 5 little tips on how to make a villain really compelling. It's 5 different ways that I'm really trying to use right now in my own writing as I'm plotting my way through my book and plotting my way through my series. I'm really trying to use a lot of these tactics to make the villains really compelling. I really want the readers of these books to, when they eventually get them in their hands, to feel for the villains, to really care about them and care about their fates, and not just go, yay, the villain's dead, but actually kind of, you're grappling with that. I know it's the villain, I know I'm not supposed to like him, but I did like them, and how their arc turns out really matters to me. I hope you liked this video. I hope you learned something. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next time on Writing Quest. Huzzah!